Eli was a board game aficionado, a connoisseur of cardboard and dice, with a collection that rivaled any local game store. His passion for games was only rivaled by his love for video games, but there was something uniquely satisfying about the tactile experience of rolling dice and moving pieces on a colorful board. One rainy afternoon, while rummaging through a dusty thrift shop in a forgotten corner of town, he stumbled upon an old Monopoly game. The box was battered, the colors faded, but something about it called to him. He paid the shopkeeper a few crumpled bills and hurried home, eager to add it to his growing collection. As he opened the box, the familiar scent of aged cardboard wafted up, mingling with a hint of something musty. Inside, he found the usual components: the board, the tokens, the money, and the chance and community chest cards. But there was a stack of yellowed papers tucked away at the bottom. Curious, Eli pulled them out and began to read. 5 strange rules were scrawled in an uneven hand. The banker is eternal. The banker must never leave the table. If they do, the game ends in chaos. The shadows move. If a player lands on a property, they must roll a die. On a roll of 1, the shadows of the room will come to life. The price of Monopoly. If a player goes bankrupt, they must forfeit a memory to the game. The unseen player. At least one player must remain silent throughout the game. If they speak, they become the unseen player. The final roll. The game ends when one player rolls a double 6. But beware, for the last player to roll doubles will never leave the table. Eli chuckled at the absurdity of the rules. They felt like a gimmick, but he was intrigued. He invited his friends, Mia, Jake, and Sarah, over for a game night. As they gathered around the table, Eli explained the peculiar rules, laughing at how ridiculous they sounded. "Come on, it's just a game," he said, setting the pieces up. "What's the worst that could happen?" The friends rolled their eyes, but agreed to play, eager to see how Eli's latest find would unfold. As they played, the atmosphere shifted, the dim light of the room flickered, and the shadows seemed to stretch unnaturally across the walls. They laughed off the eerie feeling, attributing it to their overactive imaginations. It was Mia who first landed on Boardwalk. "All right, roll the die," she said, her voice bright with competitive spirit. She rolled a 3. "Nothing happens," Jake said, smirking. "You're safe." But then Eli, feeling a strange compulsion, rolled a 1 on his turn. The shadows in the room thickened, coiling and twisting like smoke. A chill swept through the air, and the laughter died in their throats. "Did you feel that?" Sarah whispered, her eyes wide. "Just a draft," Eli said, trying to shake off the unease. As the game continued, the atmosphere grew heavier. Jake landed on Park Place and rolled a 4. "Looks like I'm safe too," he said, but his voice trembled slightly. Then it was Sarah's turn. She landed on a chance space and drew a card. "What does it say?" Mia asked, leaning forward. "You owe the bank $50, Sarah read, her voice quaking. "That's easy enough." But as she reached for her token, the lights flickered again, and the shadows began to shift. Eli felt a prickling sensation on the back of his neck. "Hey, did anyone else see that?" he asked, glancing around the table. "See what?" Mia replied, her brow furrowed. "Never mind." The game continued, but the tension was palpable. Jake, growing increasingly anxious, finally broke the silence rule. "This is stupid. I'm done," he shouted, slamming his fist on the table. Instantly, the air grew cold, and the shadows surged forward, coiling around him like serpents. His face paled, and he gasped, "What's happening?" "Jake, don't!" Eli warned, but it was too late. The shadows consumed him, pulling him down into darkness. "Jake!" Sarah screamed, but her voice echoed hollowly in the room. With panic rising, Eli grabbed the dice and rolled desperately, hoping to end the madness. He rolled a 6. The shadows receded and Jake was gone, leaving only a faint whisper behind. "Where did he go?" Mia cried, her eyes darting around the room. "We have to finish the game," Eli said, his voice trembling. "It's the only way." They pressed on, each turn feeling like a descent into a nightmare. Sarah landed on a property and rolled a 1. The shadows returned, swirling around her, and Eli felt a tug in his chest. No, not you too. But it was too late. The shadows enveloped her, and she vanished, leaving only silence in her wake. Mia and Eli were the last two left, their hearts pounding in their chests. They exchanged terrified glances. "Let's just get through this," Eli said, his voice barely a whisper. Mia rolled next, landing on a community chest space. "What now?" "Draw a card," Eli urged, his hands shaking. She pulled a card, her eyes widening in horror. It says, "I must forfeit a memory." "No, you can't!" Eli shouted, but the shadows danced eagerly around them, waiting for her decision. "I have to!" Mia cried, tears streaming down her face. "I can't let it take me!" With a trembling hand, she placed the card on the table, and Eli felt a wrenching sensation in his mind. Images began to fade, memories of their childhood, laughter and joy, erasing everything they had shared. "Eli, I can't remember," she sobbed, her voice breaking. "Just roll, please," Eli begged, desperation clawing at him. Mia rolled, and the die tumbled across the table, landing on a 3. The shadows shrieked in fury, swirling violently around them. "You can't escape," they hissed, voices echoing from every corner of the room. Eli, feeling the weight of despair, rolled the dice one last time. "Please, just let this end," he pleaded. The die rolled and rolled, finally landing on a double 6. A deafening roar erupted as the shadows converged, and Eli felt himself being pulled down into the abyss. He reached for Mia, but she was already lost, her face a mask of terror. The game was over, the table lay empty, the boards scattered with pieces, and the room was silent once more. The old Monopoly game sat there, waiting for its next players, with the strange rules still etched on the yellowed papers. And in the shadows of the room, a whisper lingered, echoing the memories of those who had dared to play. "Welcome to the Game of Shadows,"